What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my channel, Set Apart Gardens. So today I'm just coming at you with a video I feel like every new or aspiring homesteader needs to hear. In this video, I'm going to talk about the things that they don't tell you when you're trying to start a homestead, or when you're a beginner homesteader, when you first buy some land and when you're trying to get established. I'm gonna talk about 3 major things that they don't tell you about. The first thing, number 1, the first thing is going to be infrastructure. So infrastructure meaning having your animal shelters, your chicken coops, all that type of thing. Whatever animals you want to have. If you want to have goats, you want to have sheep, you want to have horses, you want to have cows, you want to have pigs, whatever animals you want. If you want to have a dog kennel, whatever the case may be, or if you want gardens, you want a greenhouse, you're going to need that infrastructure built for those animals, for that greenhouse. So that's going to be an investment. For instance, a chicken coop. You're gonna, if you're not gonna buy one that's already made, you're gonna have to make one yourself. So that's time and money. I mean, you can get scrap wood, you can use pallets, you can try to go the frugal way, most definitely, which I do suggest, but it's going to be more work. But let's say if you don't do that and you just go and buy the wood, you look at a plan online, a free chicken coop plan, or you just you already know how to build, you're going to have to invest in those materials. Whether it's the hardware, cloth, the wood, the roofing, all of that material. So you're going to have all of that infrastructure built prior to you getting your animals on your land. So just like, say, if you want to introduce some goats to your homestead, you're going to have a goat shelter built, right? If you want cows, you're going to have a shelter for them, so that they can get out of the weather. If it rains or if it snows, that way they'll have something to get out of the weather. And say if you want to have a lot of livestock, like you want to have cows, pigs, goats, horses, then you're going to have to look at a barn, getting a pole barn or building a barn. But you have to get that infrastructure. They don't tell you about that, the initial investment, especially if you don't already have it on your land. So like, some people are blessed to actually buy a already built up farm pretty much, and they just buy it and take it over. So they already have the infrastructure, the barns, the chicken coops, and things like that. So that's something to kind of start getting your head wrapped around, is the infrastructure, because it's going to be an investment if it's not already on your land. Number two is going to be equipment. You're going to need equipment. So equipment meaning, and this goes back again to depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to be self-sufficient, you're trying to grow your own food, you're trying to raise your own meat and things like that, you're going to have equipment. You're going to have tools. That's the number 1 thing. Not only are you going to have to buy the tools if you don't already have them, but you're going to have to learn how to use tools. A lot of things with homesteading is going to be DIY projects. And YouTube and books are your best friend. But equipment, you have to have equipment. Hey, you got to have a truck, or you got to have something to where you can get feed for your animals, whether it's hay, whether it's bags of feed. You're going to have something to haul and transport it. If you need to haul animals, you got to have something. So that's why I say a pickup truck, or you have to get an animal trailer. Especially the bigger the livestock you go, such as cows and horses and stuff like that, you're going to have a trailer that's big enough, an animal trailer that's big enough to transport them, and you're going to have a pickup truck to transport them. So you got to think about all these things that are investments. So again, think about it, because it can get expensive. But Craigslist, you got things like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. It's a whole range of things where you can buy things used. And I do suggest buying things used, especially like when it comes to tractors, riding lawnmowers. Like I bought a riding lawnmower that was used, but it's still a great riding lawnmower. And compared to the prices of buying it brand new, it was significantly different. So you can save money, but it's going to be an investment. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand, right? And the third and final thing, I believe this is the most important thing, especially if you are going to be raising livestock. If you are going to be raising livestock like goats, sheep, cattle, horses, you know, pigs, you're going to have fencing. Fencing. Number 3, fencing. Fencing to keep your livestock in and to keep other predators out, such as loose dogs, you know, such as raccoons. They probably can still get over that gate anyways, but loose dogs mainly, foxes, things like that. You can keep deer out of your garden with fencing. But fencing is so important, and this is something that I didn't realize until I actually got settled in my homestead and we started, you know, trying to get animals and things like that. So right now we have chicken and sheep. The reason why we haven't expanded to other livestock is because we have to get permanent fencing built in. Right now we have our sheep and electric fencing. And electric fencing is a good option, but it's not a permanent thing. You don't want to keep those sheep in an electric fence permanently, right? You want to eventually get them something that's going to be sturdier enough, stable enough to where, you know, you don't have to constantly turn it on and off, worry about whether it's on or off. You got to climb over that fencing just to get to them. You know what I'm saying? And you don't got to worry about the grass getting so high over it and messing up the charge on it pretty much. You don't got to worry about all that. You have permanent fencing. You know, but fencing is so important. So you have to be smart with what you're doing. But fencing is definitely important because you want to keep your animals in, especially goats, because goats will get out, right? I had an experience where I had a goat and I put them in my backyard because I was going to slaughter them. I don't raise goats. Whenever, you know, I want to buy a goat, I usually buy it to slaughter, put it in the freezer. Right, so one time I bought a goat. I believe it was the first time I bought a goat. I bought him to slaughter, and I put him in my backyard that's fenced in. It had, you know, the regular backyard fence, the aluminum fence. And I left him back there. I literally closed the latch, and he watched me every day open and close the latch. And one day somebody came to my door and said, "Hey, I see you got sheep and goats. It's a goat that got loose. Is it your goat?" And lo and behold, he saw me every day, you know, undoing and doing that latch, and he undid it with his horns and he got free. And I knew nothing about it, because I'm like, how in the heck did he get free? And I just looked at the gate and it was popped right open. All he did was, and from that point on, I saw him trying to do it, but I tied it off. But I saw him trying to do it again and again and again. But goats are smart and they can escape. That's why I say you don't want to keep animals in temporary fencing, because a goat is going to try, you know, yeah, they might be trained to electric fencing, but they're going to try that fence every now and then to see if it's on, to see if they can break free, you know. So you want to be able to keep your livestock in. You want to invest in some good fencing, learn how to do it yourself or have somebody help you. But man, to pay somebody to do it for you is going to be expensive. But all of those 3 things are I feel like are the 3 most important things when initially homesteading, as far as preparing mentally and financially, because it's going to cost. It's an investment to homestead. See, unless you're buying something where it's already established, you're going to have to establish it. And with establishing comes, you know, things you didn't know you needed. So trust me, it can get expensive, but it's an investment, because once you are established, then all you have to do is maintain it. Maintenance after that. But you got to get to a point where you can maintain it. And that's the hardest thing about anything, is starting. Starting is the hardest part. But you don't have to do it all at one time. It can literally be a process. Get your finances in order. 1 month you're doing this project, 1 month you're doing that project, until next thing you know, maybe 6 months, a year later, 18 months later, you got everything you need. The key is to get started. Count the costs. Even Christ in the Bible tells us to count the cost. A wise man counts the cost. A wise man counts the cost, what it's going to cost to build a house. A wise man always counts the cost, because guess what? If you don't count the cost, it's going to be a frustrating, long process. And trust me, it can get frustrating if you don't know what to expect. Because a lot of people, they get this mentality, this fantasy kind of mentality that, you know, oh, it's just going to be so perfect, I'm going to live off the land. What they don't realize is not only with the 3 things I just talked about, but the time as well. You could say this is the 4th thing. The time you're going to invest in your property. The time you're going to invest in creating systems with your animals, with your garden, with your property. You're going to have to create systems. You're going to have areas where you store your feed, storing your feed properly. That's another thing. Feed bins, waterers, feeders, things like that. And the bigger livestock you get, the bigger you're going to have to buy those feeders, the bigger you're going to have to buy those water tubs. You're going to have to buy those big old water tubs. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, water hoses, water hookups, water spouts. You're going to need those in areas where your livestock is going to be, so you could just, on demand, you can fill it up. You don't have to carry buckets of water all over your property because you're on so many acres, and then you have animals over here and over here and over there and over there. It can get frustrating. But the time is important because you're going to invest a lot of it initially. Now, like I said, once you get established, it's maintenance, but it's still time. It's still time. It takes brain power with your tools, you know, learning how to use your tools and all this type of stuff. It takes time. You have to be willing to invest that time in. And I know I'm talking for a long time, but understand these 3 things: infrastructure, equipment, fencing. I'm sorry about that. Fencing and time. You're gonna have to invest time. I feel like that's the most important outside of fencing, is investing that time. So with that being said, peace and blessings to you. I wish you much blessings in your journey to self-sufficiency, because he who has the ability to feed you also has the ability to starve you. So get out here, learn these skills, learn these life skills, do what you got to do, get established, and then it's maintenance. And guess what? You'll reap the rewards later. All right? Peace and blessings.